welcome to the deep dive. Today we are jumping right into a thrillingly fast-moving corner of popular culture.
So fast.
We're talking about boy love, serialized fiction, or BL. And if you follow the genre at all, you know things are in the middle of a radical overhaul.
Oh, absolutely. Our stack of sources shows this massive shift happening. I mean, our whole mission today is really to guide you through this evolution.
Because what was once dominant is now giving way to these high-concept, really complex, and honestly pretty experimental narratives.
And we need to unpack that. We have to understand the core frustration that's setting in with readers, and then pinpoint these new frontiers that are grabbing everyone's attention as we head into 2026.
Frontiers that include everything from kind of physics to fantasy transformations.
Yeah, this is not just about finding a new trope. It's a fundamental redefinition of intimacy and romance in fiction.
Okay, so let's set the baseline. For anyone who's been reading BL for the past few years, one thing has just been dominant.
The Omegaverse,
Yeah.
for sure.
Right. That whole structure built on these predetermined biological hierarchies, the alpha, beta, omega thing.
The scent-based attraction, fated mates, all of it. And our sources confirm it has truly hit a wall.
So it's not that it's gone entirely.
No, not at all. But it is suffering from the most severe case of trope fatigue I think we've seen in years.
When a framework gets that big, I guess predictability just sets in.
Exactly. The very readers who, initially loved that biological mandate, that guaranteed destiny, are now actively demanding the opposite.
So they're craving psychological depth, relationships that actually require effort.
And inventive world building that doesn't just rely on, a biological clock or pheromones to push two people together.
It's a massive philosophical pivot then, a move from destiny to choice.
That's the perfect way to put it. The audience is signaling they want characters who earned your connection, who choose each other despite barriers, not just because biology says so.
It suggests a real maturing of the reader's palate.
And a demand for higher literary quality. And that, for you, the listener, is where the story gets really, really interesting.
Because if destiny is out, creators need powerful new ways to test a relationship. So let's jump into how they're doing that.
We're looking at three major waves that are redefining intimacy, and they completely toss out that old ABO framework.
Okay, trend one.
The first major trend is something called soulmate timelines. This is like the elevated, super complex cousin of the old fated mates trope.
It's not just a matching birthmark anymore.
Oh, not at all. Now the universe itself is the obstacle.
Okay, so what does that look like in practice? What kind of complexity are we talking about?
Well, instead of a simple meeting, you're getting these intense, high-stakes scenarios. For instance, a character might have a literal, visible countdown to the moment they first meet their soulmate.
Wow, imagine the pressure.
Right. Or, and this is far more common now, the stories dive into quantum twists. Characters are living through multiple failed timelines.
Timelines where they met, but it didn't work out.
They couldn't stay together. They died or lost each other. So it's like a quantum memory loop.
That doesn't sound like destiny. That sounds like a cosmic trial.
It is. Because if you, the reader, know the main character has already failed 5 times, every single decision in this timeline has this monumental emotional weight.
So the universe gives them the opportunity, but the characters have to be the ones to break the cycle.
They have to earn the resolution. It puts all the responsibility right back onto their shoulders.
Okay, so that's the physics angle. Let's pivot to tech. The second big wave is cyber-augmented love.
Yeah, and this is where technology is absolutely essential to the central romantic question.
It's not just background sci-fi.
Not at all. It's being used as a metaphor for vulnerability. We're seeing plots that revolve around memory editing or direct neural links between partners.
Wait, direct neural links? You mean you're literally inside your partner's head?
Literally. Or you get plots with these objective biomechanical sync rates that supposedly determine how viable your relationship is.
Async rate? That sounds terrifyingly clinical.
Yeah.
If some corporation tells me my compatibility dropped from 98% to 75%, doesn't that just kill the romance?
That is precisely the narrative tension. You're hitting on the core of it. When tech reduces a relationship to data, the whole struggle is about resisting that data.
How do you trust someone when you have access to their raw, unfiltered fear through a neural link?
Or if you know their memories of the last 5 years were edited by some outside agency. The technology becomes a tool to explore trust, authenticity, and the the fragility of a shared reality.
It really elevates the stakes. You're not just fighting an ex-boyfriend, you're fighting corporate control over your own consciousness.
Indeed. And that brings us to the third one under this complexity banner, unreliable narrators. This is a shift that really demands active participation from the reader.
So the idea is you just can't trust the protagonist's view of their own relationship.
Exactly. The protagonist might be deeply delusional, maybe hallucinating the whole romance because of some past trauma.
Or they could be actively lying to the audience about what's happening.
Right. It's a total rejection of that standard, emotionally transparent first-person romance narrative.
Which makes the reader a kind of detective. You're forced to decode the romance and reality right alongside the character.
It shifts the experience from passive emotional consumption to active, critical engagement. And that tells you a lot about what this audience wants now.
Okay, let's shift gears completely. From sci-fi philosophy to deep fandom. Section 2 brings us into a really popular niche, Furred BL. This sounds like pure escapism, but I'm guessing our sources show it has some serious emotional depth.
It really does. These are stories that are all about radical identity shifts. Usually it's a human-to-animal transformation or transmigration into a fantasy world where this stuff is common.
And the core dynamic we're seeing is a human character who suddenly finds themselves trapped in an animal form, like a wolf or a big cat.
Or something entirely mythical, yeah. And the romance develops with what's called a beast man, a resident of that world who can shift between human and animal forms.
So the appeal has to be more than just aesthetic. What's the thematic hook for readers?
It all centers on these intense questions of identity and adaptation. I mean, if you suddenly look, move, and think like a totally different creature, how do you hold on to your humanity?
And how does your partner see you?
Exactly. The tension is about navigating a connection despite this radical external difference. It's the ultimate test of love me for who I am on the inside, just made incredibly literal.
It's sort of the opposite of the Omegaverse, where identity is so rigid. Here, fluidity is demanded. The protagonist has to adapt, and the partner has to accept that change.
It's the antithesis of a biological mandate. It's a creatively rich way to explore some really deep emotional themes.
All right, let's zoom out from these big waves and try to forecast the more immediate future. We're moving into the micro-genre forecast for mid-2026.
These are the really specific, nuanced niches that our sources predict are about to take a significant hold.
First up.
The first one we're seeing is eco-BL. This subgenre basically makes the environment itself the antagonist.
So, survivalist stories, post-apocalyptic settings, climate disasters.
Resource scarcity, yeah. And all of those challenges are woven tightly into a very tender, very protective romance. The stakes become physical survival and emotional connection.
It's a pressure cooker for intimacy.
A huge one. The harsh setting demands absolute reliance on each other. The relationship becomes the only source of warmth and security in a world that is fundamentally hostile. It forces the characters to value each other above everything.
That's a powerful engine for a story.
Okay.
The second microgenre sounds really specific. Mythology reimagined.
Yes, and this isn't just vague magical fantasy. The sources point to a demand for stories drawing from very specific, often obscure folklore.
And the key is blending that deep lore into a modern setting.
Exactly. So, for the listener who might not be familiar, we're talking about creatures like Selkies.
From Celtic mythology, right. The seal-to-human shapeshifters.
Yes, whose transformation is tied to an object, their seal skin. Or creatures like the Baku from Japanese folklore, which are these beings that consume nightmares.
So the romance isn't just, I fell for a magical guy. It's navigating the very specific rules of that Selkie's transformation, or the psychological cost of being with a Baku who literally eats your deepest fears.
It's high-concept creativity driven by niche cultural references. It allows for these incredibly specific, lore-driven stakes without having to rely on the big, overused fantasy tropes.
And finally, a trend that says a lot about audience patience. The slow burn renaissance.
This is such a clear signal from readers. They are rejecting the romantic equivalent of fast food. They are demanding patience.
An earned payoff.
A deeply earned payoff. Readers are craving years-long tension, extensive emotional buildup, and an intimacy that is meticulously earned over dozens and dozens of chapters.
It feels like a direct response to the instant biological connection of the Omegaverse.
It absolutely is. It rewards the reader's investment of time and energy.
Yeah.
It acknowledges that true, satisfying emotional depth takes time to build.
So when the characters finally get together, the resolution is just profound.
And so much more satisfying.
Okay. Soulmate physics, neural links, beastman identity, survival, earned love. This genre is pushing every limit. Let's try to bring this all together. What is the one unifying thread connecting all these different trends?
I think the thread is complexity. Every single one of these trends demands a focus on emotional depth, truly inventive world building, and multidimensional characters. The simplicity of the old formulas is, for now, dead.
The stories are moving beyond simple entertainment. They're actively challenging the reader to think differently about love, identity, connection itself.
So what's the so what for the audience driving this change? How do they support this innovation?
Well, they have the pivotal role. By seeking out and supporting these unconventional stories, they are voting for originality. That means exploring indie platforms where a lot of this innovation is happening. Our sources pointed to places like Manta or Bilibili Comics.
Where creators can take risks the big publishers might not.
Exactly. And engaging directly with creators. That feedback loop is the engine. If you love a Baku romance or a story about cybersync rates, that enthusiasm drives the next bold idea. So by 2026, the genre is no longer this single dominant structure.
It's a landscape of profound experimentation, surprising romance, and richly layered storytelling. And it's all driven by readers who simply demanded more.
This has been a really remarkable deep dive. It's fascinating to see how fan curiosity is fueling such rapid, high-quality literary evolution.
It just shows that when an audience demands more depth and originality, creators really do respond. They build worlds that challenge everyone.
So let's leave you with a final thought to mull over. We've tracked this huge philosophical shift today, right? The genre moved from the biological rigidity of the alpha-mega dynamic, where destiny was basically guaranteed by pheromones, to stories where love is defined entirely by conscious choice, massive effort, and even technological intervention.
And this suggests that the ultimate frontier of romance and fiction might not be about finding the perfect biological match. It's more about showcasing the limitless potential of the human imagination itself.
An imagination that can find a real, profound connection, even when facing quantum twists
Or navigating a relationship from inside an entirely different, maybe even an animal form.
The journey to love is now defined by the imaginative hurdles we choose to put in our own way.
A thrilling and complex future awaits.
Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. It really helps the channel grow. See you in the next one.